I have bipolar disorder. I talk about bipolar disorder. I make videos about bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is a big part of my life, and for a long time, it completely consumed me. I tried everything to make my bipolar disorder go away, from not talking about it, to pretending I didn't have it, to thinking it was my superpower. And now, bipolar disorder feels like a tiny part of who I am. You might think that the reason I feel so much better now is because I finally found the right meds and treatment. And yes, I follow the ketogenic diet and I take lithium, but that's not what changed things. The real change happened when I shifted one thing in my mindset. That's when bipolar disorder became easier for me to live with. I'm happier, I'm less stressed, I feel more in control of my life, at least most of the time. And I really think this one shift will help you too. Today, I'm talking about the mindset shift that completely changed my bipolar disorder. I'm Patty, the girl with blue energy. I have bipolar disorder and I make videos about mental health and personal growth. When most people think about bipolar disorder, they think just get on the right meds and you'll be fine. Most people think managing bipolar disorder is all about getting on the right meds, right? Well, the right meds don't work if you're not going to take them. And that was me. My old mindset was the worst possible mindset to have if you have bipolar disorder. And I've seen a lot of people just like me. Let me tell you a little bit about how I used to feel about bipolar disorder. When I was first diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I thought it was the worst thing that could happen to me. I thought I was doomed. I didn't think I was going to make it past 19 years old. I had been in and out of the hospital, so I thought that was going to be my life. Once I adjusted to being diagnosed with bipolar disorder, I had a different approach. I tried to pretend I didn't have it. Times were a little different when I was first diagnosed, so talking about it wasn't something you did. But I thought I could pretend it away or act like I wasn't bipolar and it would go away. In fact, I didn't tell anybody about being bipolar until I was over 35. It was something I pretended I didn't have. And when I would have an episode, I would just kind of hide out from the world so people might not realize what was really going on. I didn't want to be on medication. I spent most of my life resisting this. And I had people in my life supporting me on this because, believe it or not, there's a lot of people out there that are anti-med and who will support you not taking your meds more so than they'll support you taking them. So I didn't like taking medication, and truthfully, it took a while to find the right ones that actually helped me in the first place. But even when I did, I didn't like taking them. I didn't like the side effects. I convinced myself they didn't work. So I would skip meds, I would drink on my meds, and of course they weren't working because I didn't commit to taking them routinely and I didn't commit to managing the rest of my life. I also liked being manic, so the way I managed my bipolar disorder was to try to keep myself in a manic episode as long as possible or to push myself into a manic episode. My thought was I hated depression, and if I could make myself manic, I would flip my mood out of the depression into the mania, and that was better than being depressed. I got more things done when I was manic, and I felt like I was more creative, more funny, more passionate when I was manic. So I thought it was my superpower, and I tried to treat my bipolar disorder by keeping myself manic as often as possible. After I'd been dealing with bipolar disorder for many years, I was back on my meds because I always ended up back on my meds, and I was rapid cycling. And I didn't have any control over my moods. I was getting really upset about how quickly my moods would flip from mania to depression and how little control I had over it. And that's when I discovered the ketogenic diet. And once I started that, I started to see some stability in my moods. And I started to like that feeling. When I discovered the ketogenic diet, I weaned off of all of my meds with my doctor. And I felt really good about myself because I was finally managing my bipolar disorder and I didn't need those stinking meds anymore. So this was where I was a couple of years ago. I was managing my bipolar disorder just fine with the ketogenic diet, And bam, the mania started to slip back in. And here I was again, having to go talk to my doctor about those stupid meds I didn't want to take. I have a rule for myself. If I go longer than a week in a hypomanic state, I will go call my doctor. Well, this particular episode went on for over 2 weeks, and I felt that it was going to turn into full-blown mania. So I called my doctor, and I went back on lithium. And one of the differences from taking lithium now and taking lithium then is I have a lot more support in my life. My partner didn't say, "Oh, what do you mean you're going back on meds? Don't you want to think about that? Are you sure?" When I called my doctor, she didn't say, "Hey, you want to start on a small dose and see how you feel?" She started me back on the lithium, and we went at the dose that I was on previously, did the blood work, and I had support from both my partner and my doctor. That was the start of my mindset shift. Making a change in how you think is really tough. You can know that you need to change your attitude about taking meds. You can know that you need to change your thinking about your diagnosis, but actually changing it, that takes effort and changing how you think. And that doesn't always happen in a linear path, and it doesn't always happen quickly. For me, it was decades for me to make this change in my thinking. Some of the things that helped me to change the way I think about my bipolar disorder was the support I have. So having a supportive doctor and a supportive partner makes a big difference. Even if the rest of the people in your life aren't supportive, having one or two people who support you can really help. For me, the mindset shift was this. I finally stopped seeing medication as the enemy and realized it really wasn't a big deal. It's more than just taking the meds and saying taking the meds is not a big deal. It's a place you come to in your life where you say, "Hey, I have bipolar disorder. This is my struggle. I need to take medication for it." I do not like the comparison with this is like taking insulin, because I don't think it's a fair comparison. But do you want your life stable, or do you want your life out of control? That was what I decided. I liked the stability. I liked my relationship, that we didn't fight all the time. I liked how I functioned. So going back in the lithium became no big deal once I looked at it differently. Now I take my meds faithfully every day. I have an alarm set to remind me so I don't miss doses and I don't accidentally double dose. I also don't drink anymore, so that is a big no-no with lithium and probably for bipolar in general. But I would either drink while taking the lithium or skip my dose so that I could drink. Both bad for bipolar disorder and will cause a lot of instability. So I don't do any of those anymore because I enjoy being stable. I've also changed how I see bipolar mania. I no longer see it as my superpower. I remember telling a therapist that I built my business by having one manic episode after another. And I associated bipolar mania with my creativity, with my energy, my drive, and my spark. The thing is, when you get on meds, when you get on something that makes you stable, you don't lose all that. I'm still creative. I still get things done. I still have drive. I still have enthusiasm and energy. I'm just more stable, and I actually like the way this feels better. And I stopped believing that I had control over my symptoms. One of the things you do when you're not accepting your condition is that you think you can control the depression or the mania yourself, that you can mind over matter it, you can do all the things right in your life, and you won't have these episodes anymore. But for me, no matter what I did, I would still get these manic or depression episodes. Once I finally accepted that I have bipolar disorder, which, by the way, took me many years to do, things got a little easier. My life didn't become suddenly easier to manage, and all the obstacles didn't just go away. But when I finally accepted it, it made me more open to getting help, getting back on meds, getting support, seeing a therapist, things like that, that in the past would have been really hard for me to do because it would have meant accepting that I had bipolar disorder and working with professionals to help me, I realize now that when my bipolar disorder is stable, I'm more stable. I make better decisions. I take help instead of resisting it. And sometimes I think when you have bipolar disorder or any mental illness, that your pride can be an obstacle, that you don't want to admit you need help, you want to deny it away. And once you accept it, it gets easier. When you're more stable, you make better decisions. You do things like you take your meds, you see your doctor, you find a therapist, you work on your relationship, you set boundaries, you improve your life skills so that you have a more stable life. These are things you can't really do when your bipolar disorder is chaotic and out of control, because you can't make a good decision when you're going from mania to depression. It just doesn't happen. So once you learn to accept this is just how my brain works, and stop thinking that, oh, I have bipolar disorder, bipolar is bad, your life starts to get better because you can manage the disorder without all of that in the way. Accepting my diagnosis and changing my mindset about it is the best thing I've ever done for my mental health. Now, acceptance doesn't just mean accepting, hey, I have bipolar disorder. You don't get to just accept it and move on. When you accept it, you still have to have some responsibilities for your disorder. So you don't get to just say, oh, I have bipolar disorder, so not my fault, or oh, I have bipolar disorder, but I'm not going to take my meds, or I'm not going to make any improvements in my life. I've accepted it. It's not like that. You need to accept that you have bipolar disorder in order to manage it better, but it doesn't mean you throw everything else out the window. Here are 3 things that I hope you take away from this video. The first one is acceptance is the first step in improving your mental health. So when it comes to accepting your diagnosis, that can be challenging. We don't just change the way we feel about something or change our mindset overnight. So the first step for you might be accepting the fact that you need to change how you feel about bipolar disorder or having bipolar disorder, even if you haven't actually changed that mindset yet. Just knowing you need to make a shift in how you feel about bipolar disorder can help you to make that shift. The second takeaway is that you need support. If you're trying to make any mindset shift, you need support, even if it's just 1 or 2 people. For me, it's mainly my doctor and my partner, but my family is pretty supportive as well. If you don't have support, it's going to be a lot harder. So if you're able to find support, even if it's professional support and not support from your family or friends, that's okay. Support is support. So you need someone to help you and support you as you deal with your illness, but also as you work on your mindset shift. And the third takeaway, stability doesn't kill your spark. This is something I struggled with for a long time. I associated bipolar mania with my creativity, my spark, my drive, my passion, my confidence. And it's really hard to differentiate your personality from your disorder when you're living in the disorder. So stability doesn't kill your spark. It actually makes you more confident and more in control of your life. Your creativity, your passion, your energy, it doesn't just go away because you go on meds. It actually improves your life. And for me, I'm a creative person, so I still have creativity. Obviously, I have a YouTube channel and I write regularly. Going on meds, getting on keto, getting my life more stable, that only helped with my creativity and my confidence. So don't think that getting your disorder in order is going to kill who you are or your spark. Thanks for listening, guys. I appreciate all your support. Be sure to like this video and, of course, subscribe. I'll see you guys again real soon.